Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed NXT tonight. I don't know, maybe just because I'm in a good mood or what, but I thought there were a lot of meaningful segments. We were only 2 weeks away from TakeOver Chicago, and this episode of NXT really had, as I usually like to say, its best foot forward. I feel like the mid-card feuds kind of on this show are really shaping up. One in particular that I am loving more than even I thought I would. The NXT Championship match, I'll tell you what, that got interesting development tonight. And the women's division, once again, in 2 separate segments, really showing that it's coming into its own again, that we're getting a nice generation of female talent. And even the main event, the NXT Championship match, not a bad match. And even the ending segment, which I thought would grate on my nerves, I actually enjoyed and got into. So yeah, on the whole, I'm pretty positive about tonight's NXT. But let's hand it over to my cohort and commentary here. What did you think about NXT tonight?
I don't think you or any of our fans are going to be very surprised when I say that I wasn't as big of a fan of tonight's NXT as you were, but I definitely agree that there is one feud going on right now that is absolutely incredible. And I would argue the single best thing going on in the WWE as an entire company right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know what you're referring to, and I think you knew what I was referring to when I was really high on it. I can't wait to talk about it in this episode, but that's still a little ways off. So let us get into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I've got no heats tonight and no nitpicks. Are there things I would have done, a bit differently? Yes, but I usually like to keep this segment not for what I wanted, but for what, we got. And, on that front, nothing really bad, nothing offensive whatsoever. Good stuff all around, man. So no complaints here.
You know what? I think that I liked enough about what I didn't like. Like, there was something, obviously, most of you probably already know what it is, but I'm not going to spoil it until we get to it. But there was something that I really was not a fan of that happened tonight. But I think I can get enough good out of it to avoid making it a heat of the night or even a nitpick. So let's just get right into the review.
Absolutely. Let us get right into our NXT review. And, brother, how do we open this baby up?
We opened this thing up with an Aleister Black promo, actually. We haven't seen him in a little while. He shows up and he starts talking about how there's a bit of a dispute over who his next challenger is going to be, but he wants to remind everyone that all it takes is one shot for him to make any opponent fade to black. But then, before he has a chance to continue, Lars Sullivan's music hits and he comes out and says officially that the dispute is over and that William Regal has set up the match between Aleister Black and Lars for the NXT Championship at TakeOver Chicago 2, which I'm kind of confused as to why we're just calling it TakeOver Chicago and not acknowledging that it's the second one in that same city. But moving on from that, he gives Aleister Black credit and talks about all of the accomplishments he's had around the world, but he also reminds him that he's never faced anybody like Lars because there isn't anybody like Lars. And he also says that he's going to be the next NXT champ, and there's nothing Aleister Black can do about it. Goes after Aleister, Black counters, goes for a black mass, but Lars catches it. And I think what was the coolest moment of this initial segment. And then he spins him around, hits the freak accident, and holds up the NXT title before leaving.
Oh, I completely agree with you on all counts. In fact, if it wasn't for something that happened a bit later in the show, this would have taken the spot for coolest visual of the night. Just Lars catching that black mass.
And especially because we know Lars used to take like pictures just holding his hand up because his whole gimmick was that he just had freakishly huge hands.
Yeah, and man, what did he put him to good use? Both grabbing Aleister's, boot before the black mass, and then after he hits the freak accident, posing with the NXT championship. Heels and or babyfaces posing with the titles of the actual champions is a trope that I love. And I did kind of squeal a bit. It looked good with him. And,
before we move on, I got to ask, do you have the video pulled up so you can see chat?
No, I do not. Let me do that.
Okay, then I'll read it. We got a $4.99 super chat from Storyteller Wes, and he said, and I quote, "Congratulations, my beloved wife, Nikki, the new NXT Women's Champion. We did it, my darling. I love you."
Oh, isn't that sweet? But yeah, we will get to that later because I have quite a bit to say about that. But yeah, I mean, you know what I like about the whole Lars thing, actually, and see, this is what is great about wrestling at times because, and we've talked about this before, Lars is still very green, but he's at a level already. Do I think he's at a level where he could be NXT champion? No, but do I believe he's at a level where he could be a believable challenger like he's being set up as? Absolutely, because you look at the guy, and if there is any realism left in pro wrestling, I think you look at a guy like Lars Sullivan and you think that he'd clean house in whatever promotion he was in. Take all the titles. Like who could stop this guy? He even says it himself. So he definitely has that believability factor. And I think when you have a guy like Aleister Black, who is so credible because he rarely lost even before winning the title, and he has the background that he does, you need challengers like Lars Sullivan. So, really looking at these two interacting, I'm like, you know what? This makes all the sense in the world to me. And as a speed bump before TakeOver Brooklyn 4, I don't think you could ask for a better NXT Championship matchup personally. So, yeah, I'm all thumbs up on this, man, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more apprehensive than you are, just because I feel like while Aleister is champion, I want to get as many like dream match kind of scenarios out of the way with him as we can. And then I would have preferred, I wouldn't even mind Lars winning the title, but if they were going to do something with him, I would have preferred it to be later down Aleister Black's championship reign rather than being his first challenger. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wish Aleister's first contender would have been somebody that we know is going to give him an incredible match. I mean, we already saw tonight just the three guys in that one segment alone. Chris Dijak, Ricochet, Velveteen Dream, any of those guys could have been Aleister Black's first opponent. I would have been down because really, as far as the first title defense goes, all I really want out of it is an amazing match. And unfortunately, Almas isn't around to give him a return match, which would have been incredible. So this is definitely going to be just looking at the lineage of NXT championship matches at takeovers, this is going to be a huge step down compared to the last 3 to 4.
You know what, though? I sympathize with the position that NXT was in because the way they built up Aleister, again, he rarely lost. And when he did, he was heavily protected. So Aleister, in his own way, despite the fact that he was a babyface and a well-received one at that, he was an obstacle in his own way. So what does an obstacle look like to an obstacle, right? And then the answer is Lars Sullivan. So, I get the perspective of dream matches and stuff, but I feel like NXT's coming at it more, okay, how do we make this reign compelling in the sense of, telling a story of a guy now trying to stay champion? And, yeah, I mean, I do think it's probably going to be a match where Lars looks really good for the first few minutes, and then, Black comes back and whatever. And we'll unpack it more when we get to take over Chicago Premium Predictions, which will be in 2 weeks. But yeah, man, I enjoyed this interaction between the two. And then again, just the freak accident to end it. It really shows that, yeah, I am capable of beating Aleister Black. I will beat Aleister Black. And this image of me holding the NXT title will become reality. So I really liked how everything came off. And that's all I've got to say about it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that's all you got to say about it. We can move on to our next segment, which was our first match of the night. War Raiders versus the team of George Hickson and Cody Vincent. Hope I got those names right.
You did.
Really, I just love War Raiders so much. And it never really clicked for me before, but what I really love about this team is that the big, scary motherfucker with the long hair and the beard who looks like a literal Viking is the high flyer of the team.
Dude, they're so good. I watched this squash match and I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but how long until we get you guys versus Undisputed Era? Because that's all I'm fucking thinking about is them going after those tag titles. And it's amazing. This is, again, another babyface act that's so well received, but they're credible. They're not sympathetic. They get shit done. I love that shit. And man, are they fun. That wheelbarrow, waist lock position, almost like a German position, and that springboard lariat double team, that's freaking great. I've always loved their finisher ever since we've been watching them when we used to give ROH some coverage. The packaging is on point. How they carry themselves is on point. I mean, these guys are a phenomenal tag team. I often hear that nobody ever really wants to be in a tag team in wrestling. Everybody always wants to be that singles competitor, main eventing WrestleMania. War Raiders could have fooled the shit out of me because they seem quite comfortable and thriving being a tag team. I mean, this is the best of tag team wrestling to me are these guys, and I cannot wait for them to pursue the titles. It really can't come soon enough for me.
Oh my God! Do you have the chat pulled up yet so you can read?
I'll read this one. $4.99. You did the family proud, honey. Little Roddy and Baby Piper saw mommy win the title. Okay, thank you, Wes. But yeah, man, I love War Raiders immensely. What about you, man? You thinking they're going to challenge for the titles at Brooklyn 4 or?
No, I don't think so. But I do think that they are going to be the next tag team champions. I don't think they're going to challenge for the titles, but I also don't think that the Undisputed Era are ready to lose the titles yet. So I think it's good that they're not challenging for the title, because I've been saying for a little while now, TakeOver Chicago 2 looks a lot like kind of a bridge takeover. It looks like an in-between, like they're intentionally using it as like a low point so that they can really build up momentum for Brooklyn 4.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like what you said about Aleister Black's reign, like how you want to get as many dream matches as possible out of it. That's how I look at the Brooklyn 4 card, right? It's like whatever dream match in whatever division, that's what you throw on this card. Either that or the WrestleMania takeover. You know, you just give all your dream matches to it. So I don't know what their plans are for Brooklyn 4, but I would not be opposed unless they have maybe a better team. I don't know. Maybe TM61 will come out of nowhere with their cheeky tactics and be like, oh, hey, Undisputed Era, we can beat you, and we'll get that splooch fest out of the way. I don't know. But War Raiders are definitely on the radar, and I am not complaining. These guys are beasts.
Yeah, incredible.
That's all I got to say about that. Let's move on to our next segment, unless you've got more you want to say.
No, I'm good. Up next, we got an announcement that we were getting Bayley versus Kai for the NXT Women's Championship tonight, and then we got a video package really going over this feud, really pretty much from the beginning, because we've got to remember this whole thing started when Shayna, I don't know if it was break or whatever the kayfabe term is for the injury, but injured Dakota Kai by stomping on her arm. And we kind of continued from there with Dakota being intimidated and then having the match with Vanessa Bourne and beating her, Shayna coming out and Dakota just kind of freezing on the spot and all that stuff leading to the women's championship match tonight. I appreciate NXT for doing this, because if somebody hadn't been keeping up and tuned in tonight, this is a really useful way to get people invested in the story, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
And I apologize for cutting you off, but I also want to add, they did a really good job of editing around some of the like awkward pauses and awkward moments in promos to make this really sleek.
Oh, I completely agree with you on all counts. And what I love about it too is not only does it create investment, but you avoid, to me, incorrect interpretation. Because if I was just thrown into this, I would think that Dakota Kai was just like worthless, was just like this jobber competitor or whatever, and like a coward. But you actually contextualize the situation, and then you say, oh, she's actually very adept, very capable. She's just coming back from a very traumatic episode. And I think rather than me like having antagonistic feelings, it's like, oh yeah, like you said, that investment, it's sympathy, it's okay, bounce back from this. So yeah, I completely agree. This is why video packages and stuff, while I think sometimes they can be a bit overdone, when they're done like this, they're a very useful narrative tool for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. After this, we saw EC3 arriving to Full Sail earlier today and got the announcement that he's in action next. But before we get to that match, we got a Kathy Kelly interview with Lacey Evans. We find out that we are going to get the Lacey versus Katie Rubber match next week. And Lacey does whatever it takes to win, and she doesn't care that Kyrie won the NYC because she has the woman's right.
You know, she's starting to use up the rope with me a little bit. I think you've noticed on the podcast. I've really, like, Johnny Scumbag and stuff aside, I think you can give me the credit that I do try and be fair, unless I just viscerally hate you looking at you, Kona Reeves. You know, unless I viscerally hate you. And I've really tried to be fair to Lacey Evans and be like, okay, let's see where it goes. The promos are starting to get a bit one note. And one note's bad enough on its own, but like they don't even make, like, I get why she says a woman's right because that's her finisher, but like when you say I have a right, a woman's right, how does that like relate to what you're saying? Because you're like, I don't care.
That's literally just her saying I can punch her really hard and win.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I just felt the disconnect. I was mad about it. Kyrie deserves better than this. I'm not going to transform into a good fellow because fuck that. But she does deserve better than this. And hopefully she gets better than this, starting by beating Lacey Evans' ass next week. So there we go.
Yeah, definitely hoping Kyrie wins that, just because you know how steamed I got last week when Lacey beat her. And again, like, I want to emphasize that I wasn't angry just because Kylie lost. I was more angry at who beat her and the idea that Lacey's getting pushed at all. But is, you know, they're having a rubber match, so as long as Lacey doesn't win that, I won't explode again next week. I'll probably just kind of be passively like, oh yeah, cool, this is fine. Kylie won, she wins the feud, whatever. So let's move on to our second match of the night: EC3 versus Fabian Eichner. I love Eichner, man. I always explain to people, this dude is like a mini Cesaro if you just traded a little bit of the power for some more high flying. That's who Fabian Eichner is.
Dude, I agree with you. I love this man. He's so entertaining every time he gets in the ring. I want to hear more from him. Like, I want more backstage segments with him. I want to see the process of him, like, developing a personality and a voice. But as far as in ring, he's got it down. Dude, that cross body he did to the outside, not only did he do it with such fluidity, like just from one motion to the next, but he got full body on body contact. Because usually when people do it like that quick, I feel like, oh, they graze an arm or whatever. No, that was a perfect fucking cross body. And I'm like, dude, god damn. EC3 is whatever. In fact, it's funny. I feel like NXT almost said the same thing. Like, EC3 doesn't matter, because they had Johnny Gargano do his stuff in the middle of this. What do you think about that, man?
I was even going to bring that up, but that was hilarious. Yeah, Johnny comes out, like, literally during the match as EC3 is heading out to grab Eichner to throw him back in the ring. Gargano just shows up, appears magically out of the crowd, walks over to commentary, grabs a mic, and announces, hey, everyone, I have a contract. It's signed, and it's for Gargano Ciampa 2 at Chicago in a street fight. Puts the mic down, walks away. EC3 just looks baffled, but then he gets Eichner back in the win and eventually ends up winning with the TKO.
You know what, Ashton? Normally, see, I'm torn about asking you this because I don't want to jump the gun before previewing predictions, but I feel like if I don't ask you now, I'm going to forget. So I am going to ask you now. Do you feel like EC3 and Gargano may be on a collision course for feuding? Because EC3 seems like the type of character, right, that would be petty enough. Like, how dare you interrupt my match? And he's not going to forget it. And he's going to give Gargano a receipt. So you're with me.
Well, and I've already said multiple times that when they have their third match, Ciampa, or their second big match, I should say, Ciampa needs to get that win back so that when Gargano eventually wins the third match in the feud, it means more. It gives Ciampa that credibility. If Ciampa's going to win this second match, I could definitely see them having EC3 be the reason he's able to win.
Yeah. And you know what? I honestly, even though I'm kind of mad on EC3, again, not to jump the gun too much, but I do think it'd be great for both him and Johnny. EC3 in the sense that, look, clearly NXT has an investment in him. And I've said this before. And again, this is not Johnny scumbag. This is me being genuine. I have said many times, Johnny is a terrific babyface that sells his fucking ass off and makes anybody that you want to build up look like $1 million. And he'll do that for EC3. As far as Ciampa, well, we'll get more into that for preview predictions. That I can save. But I am glad we were able to have a conversation about this because I'm like, oh, man, EC3 is not letting that shit go. That was the first thought on my mind. NXT would not do this, you know, on accident. They wouldn't just have him have that facial expression just for the sake of being comical. Like, he's keeping that in the memory bank to give Gargano a receipt later. EC3 wins with the 1%, you know, that TKO. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it. I want to see more of Eichner. I want to hear him more on the mic, even if he's cringe. I want to see the development. I want to see the process. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
All right, man. Well, after EC3 beats Fabian Eichner, and by the way, I actually wanted to ask before we do move on, I noticed there were a ton of NX3 signs in the crowd. Is it just me, or is this another situation like Bobby Roode where he's supposed to be this like douchey, arrogant heel, but he's beloved by Full Sail because Full Sail fucking sucks?
First of all, I love you just giving it to everybody lately between last week. Just straight up said like Full Sail fucking sucks. Because I agree with you that they do fucking suck. And absolutely, this is 150% the same thing. Which, you know, dude, I do have to say that while I agree with you about Full Sail, I almost wonder if maybe we should blame the creative process a little bit, because you have to know, right? Like, after being in one venue for so long and seeing the crowd transform, don't you feel like you can kind of get your finger on the pulse a little bit of how they're going to respond to shit, even just a little bit? Or you think they were looking at themselves and they're like, you know, with the theme and just how he is, like maybe they'll respond to this? I don't know. But yeah, it is what it is. It's another Bobby Roode. Except Bobby Roode as a heel, I actually feel like was better than this, but that's just my opinion. And yeah, that's really all I've got to say about that matter.
Yeah. All right. So just wanted to kind of get that in there because it bothers me. But then we did get our Bianca Belair featurette. And this was pretty well done. But it was another kind of almost ambiguous situation where they're putting the spotlight on her and they're clearly trying to get you invested on her, but she's so arrogant and like, oh, everything just comes naturally through me. Like, it's clear that they want her to get over as a heel, but she also has that cool factor where it seems like it would be really easy for someone completely unfamiliar with who she is to watch this and be like, oh, she's arrogant, but she's cool and I like her because she's, you know, she's actually like amazing at what she does. And like she learned over the course of her life, because she talks about how she used to just do the bare minimum, and even in PE she would just do enough to get a good grade, but not too much so that she wouldn't get extra attention. But now she's not taking it easy anymore. She's really trying now. Like, that's a relatable experience. Like, that's something that a lot of people can learn from, and the fact that she grew as a person, like they're going out of their way to make her relatable, but they're also going out of the way to make her seem arrogant. So like I said, it's really ambiguous what they're going for here. I like Bianca as a performer. I'm really not sure what they're trying to get her to be as a character, though.
Here's my thing. I want to read the tweets that I had about this segment, but I'll get to that in a second, because I had a mini conversation with Asia, which was a little bit illuminating. I think the purpose is for her to be a heel, but I think because she's so naturally gifted and she carries herself in such a way, and we already in the preceding segment talked about Full Sail, she's going to be like their chosen babyface, which is why I've been saying, like, however many months down the road, I see Bianca and Shayna on a collision course. And when I tweeted about the segment, I tweeted two things here. Let me see. Okay, yeah, here are the tweets. I said, you know what I love about Bianca Belair? She's unapologetically talented. No faux humility. She brims with confidence and the physical gifts to back them up. I think that's going to be very likable to people. Even though they portray it in a heelish way, I think people are going to gravitate to that because, as Jim Ross once said very succinctly, people love a winner. Bianca Belair carries herself like a winner. And, you know, the second thing I said, because, you know, I've mentioned this with Lucha Underground as well, so this isn't my first time, like, taking this kind of line of thought with stuff like this. I said, you know, in this climate of racism, police brutality, etc., I think performers like Bianca are so powerful because this is a representation that's confident. Again, unapologetically talented. Not like, oh, you know, I'm just happy to be here or whatever. No, she knows she's good. She straight up says, like, I'm the best. And she even says, I think one of my favorite lines in this thing was, it's not like when I'm a kid where I'm out to make other people feel better. I don't have time for that. So to know that she really embraces like who she is, I think there's something very powerful in that. And I think it's going to be very resonant with crowds. And I think she'll start out as a heel, but I honestly believe that she could be like a really hot babyface for the division, especially if you have a heel champion the caliber of Baszler. You know, I could really see big things for Bianca. But for now, yeah, I get what you mean about the ambiguity. I think they want it to be a heel gimmick, but I don't think it's going to go that way. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Oh, man. Lots of ambiguity as far as character on this episode. That's like the theme of the episode, unfortunately.
Definitely.
Just to kind of recap, Bianca talks about how as a child, everything came naturally to her. She was bred to be the best. She comes from a family of trailblazers. She talks about how, you know, her grandfather had like a multiple PhDs and shit, and her great grandfather was the first at something that I don't even remember. And obviously, because of all of the success in her family, there were very high expectations placed on her. And then she talked about what I already mentioned about how she didn't really try too hard because she was just actually better than everyone else at everything as far as athletics go. She did gymnastics, track, basketball, cheerleading, all that stuff. And then she worked her ass off to get a full ride scholarship and a full ride athletic scholarship to an SEC Division I college and she was an elite college athlete. She got degrees in sociology and business. And then after she was done in college, she was kind of in a limbo until she found CrossFit. Then she eventually, after finding CrossFit and succeeding in that, found NXT. And she said that she was sure that NXT she belongs. She knows that she, while she's lifting and stuff in the NXT gym, that she gets all kinds of ugly looks, people jealous and that kind of stuff because she's out lifting everyone, and she's not ashamed to look them in the eyes and tell them that she's better than them. And then the big point of emphasis is she's not taking it easy anymore. She's actually putting in effort, and everyone should be afraid of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I loved it. She just goes down every accolade, both intellectual and physical. And yeah, it was also weird too, because I feel like this is the first one. And I'm not saying like that this isn't the real Bianca, that she isn't really like this gifted or whatever. But to go back to that word, ambiguity, we saw with TM61, it seemed like those, the very real guys talking about their journey. Roderick Strong, same thing. But with Bianca, it definitely felt like it was that EST character a little bit talking in parts, which I definitely think made it more interesting. So yeah, I don't know where they're going to go in response to this. Is there a part 2 for next week, by the way, or was this just all of it?
I didn't see a part 2 advertised, so this might.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I'm assuming this is all we're gonna get. Which good enough for me. Let's continue on the road to really building her up for whatever they have in mind.
Okay, so up next was the segment of the night, and I would say one of the best NXT segments in a while. But we started it out with a really, really short, enjoyable match that I do have a minor complaint about. We'll talk about that in a minute. Ricochet versus Chris Dijak.
Holy shit, dude. I mean, Chris Dijak, when I saw him come out, my mouth, that was the first time my mouth dropped. I'm like, no way, he's debuting? Holy shit. I wish that he would have gotten like the video package treatment and been treated like a bigger deal rather than just, oh, hey, I'm here. Because, I mean, look at the dude, But I'll tell you what. One of my favorite Jim Ross lines is like maximizing your minutes. I feel like Dijak really did that here because even just the one spot he did where he caught the tope of Ricochet and he choke slammed him on the apron. I was like, oh shit. So yeah, he showed up and it was a very physical bout for as short as it was. Ricochet with that like axe kick that he did.
Yeah, dude, Ricochet hit like 2 axe kicks in this match that were freaking brutal.
Dude, it's funny because I've been back, and I even told you this. I've been back on my Hideo Itami / Kenta kick, watching like a lot of his Noah stuff, and the kind of striker that he is. And I saw that kick from Ricochet, and I'm like, oh my God, that really made me think of the stuff that I've been watching lately. That was physical as fuck. God damn. And then the 630. I mean, actually, no, even before that suplex, the visual of just him dead.
That was the spot of the match to me. That was freaking incredible. And I didn't know that Ricochet had that in him. That blew my mind. And it also really made me realize, like, holy shit, like they officially announced Dijak at 270. So if Ricochet can do that to Dijak, Ricochet can do that to Dream, Ricochet can do that to Aleister Black, Ricochet can probably do that to Lars Sullivan, Ricochet can do that to John Cena, he could do that to Randy Orton, he could do that to Sheamus, he could do it to Cesaro. Like, there isn't necessarily a main eventer not named Braun Strowman in the WWE right now that Ricochet can do that to.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. It's crazy to me the power that he possesses. And I mean, to use it with that kind of visual, it just blew me away. And then, of course, the 630, always breathtaking, always devastating, and got the 3 count. And I got to say, too, like, well, I'm going to hand the reins over to you to really start the discussion on this. I do feel like Ricochet's talking, given that he really doesn't have much of a character outside of, hey, I'm really fucking good and I'm going to, pretty much like a modern Dolph Ziggler, but in a babyface fashion and with not nearly as much, well, at least not in the kind of like in-your-face arrogance. I feel like his talking has definitely improved for me. So I'm curious what you thought about the proceeding promo exchange after this match.
Well, before we even get to that, I feel like we did talk about the match briefly, but I want to just highlight a spot that Dijak did that we didn't talk about at all, that springboard elbow.
That springboard elbow, and then even though he missed it, the moonsault was gorgeous.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though, because, like, when Dijak did the choke slam to the apron, I feel like when you see a guy that size, you're like, okay, now he's going to get in there. He's going to ground and pound. And as soon as he got up on the apron and grabbed the rope like he did, I was like, oh, he's going to springboard. And he did, and he did the elbow drop. And it was just like there was this moment of, like, gasp in the NXT arena. And then rather than like, oh, you hit this awesome, cool, big springboard elbow drop, you're a big guy, that could get you the win. He was like, no, fuck that. He goes for even bigger stakes. He goes for the freaking moonsault. Obviously, it didn't pay off, but like that sequence is all Dijak got offensively in this match, and it's all he needed to instantly make him feel like absolutely credible.
Oh, dude, absolutely. You want more proof of that? Look no further than our own chat with Mark Schoeneman. He said, and I'm quoting him here, this 2 minutes of Dijak got me more interested in him than anything I saw of him in ROH.
Yeah.
Like, that's all this shit takes. And that's why I'm saying I wish they would have gotten the debuting talent treatment that we've seen Almas get and Black get and all those guys get. Because when you bring this stuff to a debut, like, he's a big fucking deal. And I really hope that, because I forget how he is personality-wise. I remember him being okay on the mic. I don't know how he's going to be like there, but if he delivers on the mic, holy hell, NXT, you cannot put your foot on the gas hard enough for my money. And yeah, Dijak definitely impressed at the time he was given. But now shifting gears to the promo aspect, what did you think about all this?
This was freaking incredible. Velveteen Dream has that it factor, man. Oh, a lot of people say, oh, he's got it. We don't know what it is, but he's it. But I've always described it as just a charisma, like a natural magnetic charisma that some people just kind of naturally have without trying. And not only does Velveteen have that in spades, but I think he has that to like a special degree. Like he's the one. Like it's funny, I'm almost quoting John Cena there, but he is the one. He is that guy. He's the dude that's going to lead the WWE into the future. And Seth might take the torch for a little while. It seems like they're kind of starting to give him an opportunity to steal it from Roman. But when Velveteen Dream shows up on the main roster, all bets are off. This dude is special. I
mean, did you hear the comments that John Cena made recently? Pretty much.
Well, that's why I said I was practically quoting him, because I'm pretty sure he said that Dream might be the one to take that spot.
Yeah, which is crazy. And he's only 22. Oh my god. I mean, dude. Some of the best material I get for our reviews are either when you're really excited about a segment, which I heard you make exclamations several times throughout all of this, both for like Dijak and then like the promos and stuff. But also like just my own reactions, because I even said to you, I couldn't ask it originally because you had to finish the segment. But remember the question I asked you, because I'm like, I have a question. Why is every feud that Dream's in the best one? Yeah. And like, that's the thing with everything going on in NXT. And here's that, when I knew these guys were going to feud, I was like, oh, you know, that's cool, because I like both guys. But I didn't really feel that magic initially that I did like instantly with Black and Dream. This segment did it for me. I am like, holy fuck, this is going to steal the show at TakeOver Chicago. Like, I'm loving Gargano Ciampa. But honestly, like, I'm more looking forward to this than I am their street fight. That's just me being truthful. Dream, like you said, the magnetism that this dude has. I could spend the rest of the podcast trying to put it into words, but I won't.
That's why I can't use a word other than just special with him, because like that's not a word I throw around liberally. That's a word that I take very seriously. So when I say that someone is a special talent, you know that I really mean it. And that is the only way that I can describe Velveteen Dream. He is that dude. And we also need to remember he's this fucking good at 22.
Dude, like, because I even said it earlier, like, he's only 22 years old. People like him, I just look at my life and I'm like, so this is the best you can do, huh? Oh, that's sad. You know, because he's just so good. He's just so good. And like, I love, because we're seeing it so much more. I don't know what's in the drinking water, what's being fed to these people, but like, we're seeing talents. It seems like they're getting younger by the generation. Pretty soon we're going to get talents making their WWE debut, and it's like, oh, I made my debut at 7 years old. It's like, what? So yeah, dude's ridiculous. He's absolutely phenomenal. And again, Ricochet, and now see, I wanted your thoughts on this because I know Prince Puma and Lucha Underground before Mil Muertes took that spot was your boy for a little bit, but we always were honest about like the mic stuff. Do you feel like he's gotten better relative to like what this
I actually do think he's gotten better, yeah. And yeah. You know, a lot of the time I'm the first person to be like, oh, I don't like the way that they're faking this accent, but the accent that Ricochet's got going on is kind of working for him, and the fact that he's kind of using some slang and stuff like, oh, homeboy and that kind of stuff, I actually think that works for Ricochet, and it almost makes his promos come off as more natural. I like it.
I agree that there's definitely an authenticity to it, like for me, because I look at how he carries himself and what his styles of it.
Here's a funny little observation. Ricochet is better right now on the mic than Roman Reigns was up until very recently.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And as I was saying, like I look at how Ricochet carries himself and like what his style is and everything, and him saying like, well, show me, homeboy, and stuff like that. That's believable to me. I believe he would talk like that. It's not like a Damien Sandow type character, you know what I mean? Using that type of language. And so it really works for me. And then, of course, that finish where Dream's like, well, no, there's only one spotlight that can contain us, take over Chicago. But when that spotlight hits your beautiful face, I will prove that anything you can do, I can do better. And when he walks off, Ricochet doing that dive and sticking the landing, and Dream's
dude, yeah, like, but I feel like you're not even doing it justice because this dude jumped from inside of the ring over the ropes, did a front flip, and landed on his feet, and like, that's like, I don't even have words to describe how ridiculous it looked and amazing, and like. Not only did he stick the landing like you said, but then he just walks right up to Dream, uses his mic to say, show me.
I love that. And I love when we have segments where like two people can talk trash, but it doesn't result in physicality.
Because you would feel I also love that when Ricochet did that, Dream's jaw just dropped.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Because like I feel like with any other heel, if somebody was like, show me, they'd be like, oh man, I've been totally emasculated. I can't let this go unanswered. Punch, you know, and then it just completely loses its quality. But the idea that Dream,
that's not Dream's style though, man.
Yeah, it's not Dream's style, and I'm thankful it's not, because it allows the moment to sit, and you're allowed as the viewer to really appreciate it and take it all in. And I'm left because they didn't come to blows. Like, I cannot wait for these two guys to do it at TakeOver Chicago. And again, Dream's feud is the best one. You talked about dream matches for the Aleister Black title reign. I hope we see Velveteen Dream Aleister Black 2 at Brooklyn 4. If not, maybe like a few takeovers after that. Those two, I'm telling you, I feel like that Dream is slowly making that ascent to the NXT championship. And this is going to be yet another feud where I think both guys end up looking great regardless of who wins and who loses.
You know what? Awesome. Kind of a sensitive subject, I know, but I also love that Velveteen Dream's sexual preference is kind of ambiguous too, because he said like Ricochet was this, he had a beautiful face, and he even like there was this like moment where it was like, oh, as epic as you and me could be, and there was like this long pause with the crowd. I was like, woo!
Yeah,
like, oh, only the spotlight's only big enough for both of us. But yeah, like that was, I just love the character, man. It's great.
Well, yeah, and like just because you brought it up, so we might as well like have it out here because that is an interesting facet to the character, and I want to tack on Paulium Gregory's comment in chat where he said Velveteen Dream fell in love with Ricochet when he hit that dive. I think the best part of Velveteen Dream's feuds, and you really illuminated this for me, and I appreciate it, is the complex relationship he has with his opponents.
Right? There's almost like a sexual, like an underlying sexual tension, and there was between him and Black too.
I didn't even really sense any sexual tension between them. Like definitely between him and Ricochet. I undoubtedly agree with you about that. With Black and Dream, it was more like, man, I really want this man's approval. There's something about him like that I gravitate towards, and I want him to, acknowledge me. But then here it's like, whether Dream could admit it to himself or not, I feel like the way he looks at Ricochet, especially after that dive, it's like, oh my stars and garters, I found my equal. Like this guy, like, is my mirror, and it looks beautiful. And I love it, man. And I love too that, like, because you mentioned the sexual preferences, I love that it's not like caricatured like a Goldust. Or I notice a lot of people say like TNA or Orlando Jordan. I don't know if you saw any of TNA Orlando Jordan.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the fucking lotion and the caution tape and all that garbage.
Yeah, fucking nightmare fuel. And I love that it's not caricatured and over the top. It is. You know, that's really all I can say about it. It is.
Yeah, and they're not saying, "Oh, hey, everyone, this guy's gay. You have to like him because he's gay." It's literally just, "Oh yeah, he might like dudes. Deal with it."
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing, and again, just the relationships he has with his opponents are just fascinating to me. And like, I love that. I love that it isn't even necessarily like, "Oh, I hate this guy," or "Oh, I respect this guy." Like, there's genuine nuance that he brings to the table. And again, just to really put a fine point on it, only 22. So like, if you're enjoying him, great, but while you're enjoying him, really take stock of your own life and wonder, what am I doing lately? Because believe me, he makes me do that every time I watch him. So with that said, I've got nothing else to say. Unless you do, we can move on.
Before we do move on, though, I think now is the perfect time to talk about, first of all, asking our audience to like the video if they haven't already. I see we have 13 live viewers, only 2 thumbs up. Remember to leave a like, especially because, I mean, coming off this segment, how can you not like that? That was a great freaking segment. And I also want to remind everybody to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and then click the bell icon so you can get notified every time we go live or upload a video. And if those notifications aren't reliable enough for you because YouTube's a bunch of fucking marks, follow John and me on Twitter, and then you can set that to give you notifications as well. Because every time we go live, my Twitter will automatically tweet out that we are live with a link to the live stream on the tweet. So that's a way better way of getting notified than just doing the bell thing. And you can also like our Facebook page. If you're interested in supporting TWitWoW, you can do so by either buying our merch on our Teespring store, donating to our Patreon. It's only $3 a month to get into the exclusive TWitWoW patron Discord, and that'll accumulate over time and allow you to request live reactions to wrestling shows that you're choosing, and it'll all stack up in a community pot and allow John and myself to continue live reacting to Progress Wrestling every week of every month. And finally, you can support TWitWoW for absolutely free by just sharing this video and this channel with all your wrestling fan friends, guys. Let your wrestling fan friends in on the best kept secret in the YWC. We are the workhorses of the YouTube wrestling community, and our schedule over the summer is going to damn well prove it, as if TWitWoW Mania every year doesn't prove it enough. So I want to get all that stuff out of the way, make sure that you guys know what to do if you didn't already. And now we can talk about our main event, which is Dakota Kai versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship.
I want you to go first. What do you think about this? Because Dakota Kai is your girl, so I feel like it's appropriate that you go first. Here's why I didn't make this match or this segment a heat of the night or a nitpick, okay? There is enough positive to come out of this. So, first of all, here's what I hated about it. I hated how weak Dakota Kai has looked in this entire feud. I really genuinely feel like this feud would have worked if they had established Dakota Kai as a viable threat and a credible act before starting it. Because if you would have Dakota Kai established already as somebody that kicks heads off and somebody that is like this total sweetheart out of the ring, but when you get in the ring, she's capable of dominating people, I think that would have lent a lot more credibility to her character, and it would have made her feel more sympathetic during this feud, because somebody that we already know can bring out that inner monster getting taken down as many pegs by Shayna Baszler as Dakota was throughout the course of this feud. There's sympathy in that, and a hell of a lot more sympathy in that than just some random girl that Shayna decided to start picking on out of the Performance Center. So that's my biggest problem, I think, with this, because once I kind of realized where they were going with it, I kind of started to like it a little more, but I still feel like the entire angle would have been helped significantly by giving Dakota credibility before starting it first, because I feel like she was severely lacking in the credibility department before starting this feud as far as NXT goes. You can say, oh, she's won titles in 4 different countries and all that stuff all you want, but when you say that kind of stuff about every new recruit, it loses its meaning. It loses its value. If everyone's done it, nobody cares who's done it before.
So Dakota Kai needed credibility for this feud to really work effectively. And then another thing that I hated about it was Nikki Cross's involvement. And we'll get to that eventually. But for now, let me go back to the beginning and talk about the stuff I liked. I like that Shayna, being the bully, got a little taste of a comeuppance in this match when Dakota kicked her face in a couple times. But moreover, the two big things involving Nikki Cross that I'm really kind of high on, kind of bullish on. First of all, when Nikki stole the title and took it into the ring and said, "Come on, come get it," that was a very bullyish move. So Shayna being bullied as a bully herself was a great moment. And then I also, even though I fucking hate that Nikki Cross is randomly getting a title shot for no reason, and that whole post-match segment with Dakota Kai as the referee and Nikki, quote unquote, beating Shayna for the title was the dumbest shit NXT's done in a fucking long time. But the match itself, Nikki Cross versus Shayna Baszler, has the potential to be a very, very good in-ring match and probably the best match since Brooklyn 3.
All right. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Did you have more that you wanted to say about this, or did you want to get my thoughts?
More. I just want to correct myself. The best women's match since Brooklyn 3. So yeah, that's about all I've got there. So I'm gonna hand the ball on over to you and let you kind of go ahead.
First of all, let me just say what I agree with you completely on before kind of giving my own independent thoughts. I agree with you unequivocally about Dakota Kai. It would have been nice if she had some build-up before this, if we had gotten more acclimated to her, more familiar with her. Completely agree. Nikki Cross, I'll get to that in a second. For me, see, I struggle with Dakota Kai because, like, how can I even put this? I want to know what NXT is doing, and I feel like I don't have my finger on the pulse with that.
And that's exactly where I'm coming from, too, because, like, halfway into this match, when Shayna had Dakota in an ankle lock and Dakota was, like, determined and, like army crawling her way to the ropes, and then Shayna kicks her hand off the rope and pulls her back into the middle of the ankle. Like, I'm just like, what exactly are they trying to accomplish here? Like, are they trying to give Dakota just a little bit of shine so she can challenge Shayna again in the future and be like post Mind Games Dakota and be like, kind of like the way Ember was in her big rematch with Asuka, which she ended up losing in anyway? Or are they just kind of feeding Dakota to Shayna to build up Shayna's credibility so that she can continue her like, I really do feel like this is just one of those angles that feels too up in the air to really say anything definitive about, because it feels like they might be building Dakota for another future title shot at a takeover. But at the same time, I kind of have to wonder, like, when's Kyrie going to get her shot? At what point do we have to start talking about Bianca Belair in this picture? And really, there's also the question of, will Nikki Cross actually beat Shayna? Because we saw tonight her, her snap, spinning neck breaker, fisherman neck breaker,
the purge
that can put Shayna down for a 3 count. So will Nikki beat her at TakeOver Chicago? I don't know. I think best case scenario is we continue building up back up at this point Dakota Kai's credibility, give her some more video packages, let us in on her journey to overcome Shayna's mental grasp over her, and then we blow it off with her winning the title at a takeover. But I don't know if that's NXT's plans. And the problem is, even if that's what they're planning right now, those long-term stories don't always work out because of call-ups. And I'm worried that something's going to ruin the potential long-term story and make this match have been all for naught.
Brother, I'm picking up everything you're laying out, because the last time I had like a long-term vision thwarted, honestly, was Ty Dillinger, because I had like this long mental vision of, oh, he's gonna beat Rude for the title,
right?
And then he got called up and utterly fucking wasted in my view, but that's a separate commentary for a separate time. With this, I again sympathize completely with your frustrations, because I look at Dakota and her presentation and I'm like, okay, this is like a synthesis of Sami Zayn and Bayley, like in this really amazing package. And she's going to struggle, but she's going to get another shot. But at the same time, though, like I get pushed and pulled between, we care about Dakota and we have this investment in her as like this character in this grander narrative. And, oh, she was just like a mini feud and now she's an afterthought. and I don't know which one's correct, and it frustrates the fuck out of me. So I think that's really where I'm going to leave it, because if I try and articulate it any further, I'm just going to be flailing around, and nobody wants to see that. So, you know, match was fine. I'm just very frustrated because Dakota's insanely talented, and I really wish I knew, like, what her status was, like, what she symbolizes. Is she a Sami Zayn / Bayley kind of character, or is she something lesser? And I really can't say, as you said, with any definitiveness or authority one way or the other. Shayna continues to be a beast. Love her. Love the ability she brings to the table. Like, you know, she comes out with that title, instant air of credibility. And then when it comes to Nikki Cross, you know, it's like, initially I'm like, oh God, you know, crazy Nikki Cross. Everybody has this kind of the running thing here. But, you know, then she did stuff that I liked. Like when Shayna, first of all, credit to Shayna for selling Nikki just brilliantly, because that face, like, she doesn't know how to respond to that, because Shayna's so used to being in control of a situation, being the imposing force in a situation. So when you have somebody like Nikki Cross, where it's like she's made of Teflon psychologically, like nothing you do is going to work, because on some perverse level she enjoys it. That's a very fascinating dynamic to me. And that is where I think I sympathize with your second frustration. The idea that you could just randomly get this title shot when they could have actually told a fascinating story here between, like, this woman that's so adept at MMA and grappling and just, like you said, being a bully, going up against somebody that does not care. You know, like that to me is compelling shit. But, you know, they're kind of hot-shotting it. I don't know for what, but they're hot-shotting it. Loved, I will say what I loved, because I didn't expect it. When Shayna was walking out with the title and Nikki runs up, I thought she was going to give her like a clubbing blow to the back, right, and start assaulting her. When she rips the title and she, like, you know, kind of draws a line in the sand, she's like, come get it. I love that, because that's probably more in line with the kind of character that Nikki Cross is supposed to represent. You know, this unpredictable whatever. Anybody else would have done a clubbing blow. I choose to play the mind games, and I can appreciate that. And as far as the whole 3 count and everything goes, you know what? For me, it was just kind of a comedic thing. Like, I laughed, and I feel like just me kind of laughing and having this stupid smile on my face. I can't hate on it too much. Although I will say, quite the symbolism while Nikki and Shayna are having their interaction. Where is Dakota found? In the corner. And she only gets reintroduced into the foreground when she's a third wheel, being a referee for 2 other people and their NXT Women's Championship aspirations. I don't know if that was, like, deliberate, if that was meant to say, like, oh, she's in the background for now, but she will reassert herself one day, or if it's just like putting a fine point on, yeah, this is Dakota's ceiling. This is as far as she's going to get. So yeah, very interesting dynamic with the women's division. And I do think Nikki and Shayna could be a really good match, but only time will tell. And that's really all I've got to say about that segment. So unless you have anything else to add, we can move on to our final segment of the episode.
Yeah. The interesting, it's so weird with Nikki, because I know she's a great in-ring worker and I know she's a great promo. She just does not connect with this character at all. And even despite the fact that she doesn't connect with this character at all, she still has great moments in the character, like within the confines of the character that I don't think she connects with. She still has certain moments. You said, you know, the come get it. And Shayna, I agree with you on this in the sense that Shayna did a great job of selling it, because Shayna almost had a helpless voice when she said, hey, give that back to me from the ramp. It was like, wow, Shayna, you kind of sound like someone that's getting bullied right now. How does that feel? And like there were definitely great moments, but like having Dakota be the referee and that whole sequence was the dumbest shit I've seen on NXT in a while. That was really like really just disappointing to me that like NXT would stoop to that, because that felt like some cheap ass comedy wrestling like you would see between like fucking Grado and Madman Manson on Progress.
God, I feel like every time like she runs or she does something really animated, the Looney Tunes theme should just play in the background. Like it would just be disgusting. And then my head pops out of the signature circle, like crazy, and then you know, just do the logo. But yeah, I mean, I can understand. I feel like a segment like that, an interaction like that, more pointedly, is going to be very hit or miss with people. With me, it was a little of both. With you, it was clearly a miss, and that's fine.
I think it was a miss at first when Nikki came out to save Dakota and was just standing in the middle of the ring trying to get Shayna to go after her. Like, first of all, Shayna's not the type to go after someone when she's face to face with them. She's more of an attack line type. Second of all, if you want to fight her so bad, just fucking go after her like you did to start when you got in the ring and attacked her and then sent her into the corner. Like, why are you not following up? Why are you trying to get her to go after you? But then it became a hit when she grabbed the title and kind of held it hostage and kind of bullied Shayna a little bit. And then it went right back to a miss when she freaked out. And she was like, you be this tonight, Dakota, you're the referee, and then did the neck breaker and shit. Like, it was really like, it was like 1/3 hit and 2/3 miss for me.
Also, you know, and I thought we could move on from the discussion, but there is one more thing I have to say. I am very, I don't want to say straight up uncomfortable. I'm awkward turtle right now, not quite at anxious aardvark about all the interactions that Dakota and Nikki have had lately. I hope that really doesn't become a thing, like even post Chicago. I hope this is just like for this feud or whatever. I hope that Dakota isn't even like anywhere near this title match. Just let Shayna do her business, Nikki do hers. I'm not going to make a formal prediction yet because this isn't the venue for it. But like, God, if Dakota gets a rematch, I hope she doesn't like go to Nikki Cross for like, wow, you were so fearless with Shayna. Can you teach me that? You know, that kind of thing, because they've already made her look like kind of a helpless character. So I hope that these interactions aren't going to be any more than what they have been, because just like her ass going to be the referee, I'm like, oh man, this has been so weird. And then before that, just being like, you know, Dakota, take your opportunity, take it, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. This isn't a dynamic that I really care to see any more of, mainly because I feel like Dakota Kai is better than this. But, you know, that'll be up to NXT, and I don't know what choice they're going to make. But, yeah, I wanted to point that out, too, because I'm like, wow, they really hope this isn't a thing. But with that said, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's it. Let's finish it out.
All right, high spots and low shots. Oh, man. You know what? My low shot is going to be that local tag team that lost to fucking War Raiders. I forget their names. It doesn't matter. They were victims. War Raiders just so freaking dominant. And for those guys, just wasn't really a nice NXT debut for you guys. We'll probably never see them again, and probably for the better. So they're my low shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I think my low shot, unfortunately, is going to have to be Chris Dijak, because even though he got his moment, he really did look a lot weaker than I was hoping he would in this match. So yeah, he got a little bit of a shine just because he got to hit some cool moves, but he was really made to look pretty weak next to Ricochet. I know obviously Ricochet is more center of attention. I just kind of wish Dijak would have been built up in squash matches rather than being immediately to established talent.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there.
You could have done with Dijak what you did with Corbin and just put him in squash matches, and the crowd could have started like counting how long his matches last and shit. Like that would have been
dude. Cool. Yes. And yet, like, I feel like Dijak has so much more likability than Corbin that I feel like you could have gotten a lot more mileage out of that same gimmick, because there was no way he was going to turn to me. Like, he's just so good. High spot. Who will be my high spot?
There are a lot of good choices for high spot, I think.
There are a lot of good choices. You know what, man? God, there are a lot of good choices. But you know what, though? When there are good choices, as cliche as it sounds, I always like going with the choice that I know I'll be the happiest with when we click end on this episode. So I'm going to say my high spot's Velveteen Dream. Because, like, I fucking love how this dude works a mic. And I love that he makes me care about every feud that he's in. And I love, too, that, like, in his own way, he subscribes to that philosophy of make your opponent look good. Otherwise, what's it going to mean if you beat them? Like, if you call somebody a nobody and you beat a nobody, well, congratulations, you beat a nobody. But by him giving Ricochet props in his own way, including noting that he has a beautiful face, like, it's like, wow, this dude is so good. And again, 20 fucking 2. So yeah, Velveteen Dream's going to be my high spot because goddamn, like I asked you, why is every feud he's in the best one? So that's all I got to say about that.
I'm really sad, man.
Why is that?
Because I just realized Adam Cole wasn't on this episode.
Are you going to be okay?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I got through the episode, but it hurts.
Listen, I'm going to ask you to get it together for me right now. And I know together we can make it through this. All right. Adam, I just want to remind you, Adam Cole is still North American champion. So even when he's not on the show, he still is the biggest part of the show because let's be honest, Aleister Black ain't shit, right? So, Adam Cole is still absolutely in control of everything. You are going to be okay. You know why? Because I know Adam Cole believes in you. So who's your high spot, bud?
Well, it's rare. It's a rare choice because we don't have Adam Cole on the show, so he can't be my actual high spot. So we're getting an actual true high spot and not just an honorary high spot tonight. So my actual true real high spot for the night is actually going to be Ricochet because he won his match in dominant fashion and then he hung with the Dream on the mic afterwards. That was impressive as hell. Props to you, Ricochet.
Oh, absolutely, dude, for fucking sure. I love it. I think that's great. With that said, do you have any concluding remarks about NXT?
No, sir.
All right, guys. Well, with that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-owner commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So leave that like. Ashton already did plugs for everything before the main event. The only thing I have to plug is our upcoming content, and I'm going to keep it to the most immediate stuff. Why? Because you can find our full schedule on Ashton's pinned tweet. So I would advise everybody go there to check it out. But most immediately, tomorrow at 4 p.m., we have got Best of the Super Juniors, days 9 and 10. The tournament rolls along, and I cannot wait to see what matches we are going to get on these 2 days. The tournament's been surprisingly really good, especially the B block, so that should be good shit. And also, guys, Q&A is tomorrow. Holy fuck. Going live with that at 7:30 EST. If you haven't submitted your questions yet, please do so. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Discord are the best means to get your Q&A questions submitted. Everybody is permitted up to 4 questions per Q&A, and you can divide them up however you like. My pinned tweet, honestly, is dedicated to Q&A, receiving your Q&A questions if you choose to go through Twitter to submit them. So please, if you haven't already, get them in. So, all right, guys, that's it. We will see you at 4 p.m. for Best of Super Juniors, day 9 and 10. And until then, tune in and peace out.